Episode 40 with Kinsey Rose. Kinsey is a fantastic singer. Really love her voice. Great person as well. She lives in Nashville and tours all over the world. And we sat down and chatted about her life and how she got to where she is today. And also, Kinsey is part of the Stonehouse Sessions and sang along with Jason McCoy on a new song that I produced. And I think you should also check that out as well. This is episode 40 with Kinsey Rose. All right. I believe this is episode 40 for me with Kinsey Rose. And Kinsey, you're in Kentucky right now, right?
I'm in Kentucky. I've been in Nashville. My parents are here in Kentucky, but I'll be going back in a few days, back to the new real world.
Yeah, see what that's all about. I had a podcast with one of my friends yesterday who's a producer and engineer in Nashville, and he basically said that he'd just been living at the studio because I have a couch and a table and a lamp at home, but all my fun stuff is here at the studio. So I might as well just bunker down here and stay here. And I said, I guess that makes sense. But
probably more work done now than ever.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, and he says it's slowly starting to get a couple of calls on possible sessions happening. But of course, we're in this COVID. Let me turn that off. We're in this COVID situation. How are you faring with all that stuff?
Well, I haven't been sick, so that's good.
Yeah.
But I think it's been hard. It's been interesting. It's been making me think a lot, just having a lot of downtime. And I don't know. I think it's a sad situation. I really don't know what to think of it, to be honest.
So what's weighing on your mind? What are you thinking about?
Oh gosh, my mind just kind of goes everywhere. It's a crazy mind. It's just even my dreams are crazy right now.
Yeah, I got that same thing, like weird, crazy dreams, and you wake up in the morning like, what was that?
I know. I think the more news we watch and just hearing stories, I think it gets to your mind.
Yeah, and I think you're hearing a lot on mental health and everything. They're talking about a lot now on news and that. And I've never had an issue with anything like that. I always felt I'm a pretty stable person. But yeah, you have, especially at night, I find that's when you go to bed or everything's kind of wound down and it's like you start thinking of stuff and it's just like, oh gosh, where's that coming from? But it's stressful. And with the music industry, most of us have been doing it our whole lives. It's not something you just kind of pick up when you're 40 and decide that you're going to become a singer or a musician or a producer or something. It's something that it's been part of you since, a young age. So it's hard to think of doing anything else.
Right. It's given us, me being, on the go all the time. And then all of a sudden, like, you can't go anywhere. It just definitely gives you time to think about what you're doing with your life and just reminisce on memories and what you've done and where you want to go next. Kind of a time to rethink it.
Yeah. And maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's good for all of us to kind of have this opportunity to go through that and think about how we spend money and how we save money and what we do for jobs and everything. I think everyone's going to think differently about all that once we kind of get out of all this. Yeah.
I hope that people don't just jump right back and forget this time as well. I think we could learn so much about ourselves and about just life. And I think sometimes we jump in and after, for instance, if a storm hits and you're out for a couple of weeks and you think you're reminded what life is about, and then you kind of get back into the groove and we kind of forget. So I really hope that we don't forget this time.
Yeah. I totally agree. I know we're definitely not going to forget this time at all. Let's go back to kind of the beginning. Where did you grow up and where did you start from?
Yeah, well, right now, you guys can't see me, but I'm sitting in my room that I slept in when I was a baby.
Oh, no way.
And I'm in Kentucky. I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, and I'm actually back at the same house that built me.
Yeah.
Reference that song. And I've started playing music. My parents they can't keep a beat. They're not musicians.
Yeah.
But there was a piano in the basement, started playing, kind of banging on that piano. And then I found a guitar and a viola, and I started recording my own self. There was a little karaoke machine in the basement, and I learned how to do overdubs when I was just a little girl. And so I'd record myself, and then I would hit, now I can't remember how to use the cassette player, but somehow I was able to record myself doing harmony on that cassette tape. So I I was just writing songs. It's something I'd be like, okay, I have to go write a song now. No one ever told me to do it. Just something I did ever since I was little. And I was fortunate to take lessons. My parents were supportive, and they took me to any lesson I wanted to go to, really. Took viola, I played the flute, I took voice lessons, and I went to a good high school, a youth performing arts school.
Yeah.
It was very competitive. You had to audition to get in there. They took it very serious. So I was thankful to have that training in that time in my life. And then I knew I wanted to, I got into country music. My parents really didn't listen to it. I grew up listening to oldies.
Oh yeah. Like oldies, like what?
Well, I know it's not that old, but like, CCR and Eagles and,
yeah.
I don't know. There's I know it was 101.
More like classic rock and roll.
Yeah, it was 101.3 was the station. I remember that.
Yeah.
I knew I got into country music. I don't know. I really don't remember the story. I don't have anything that interesting to tell you. I must have heard a song and was like, okay, I really like this. And so I started writing country songs. And I was like, someone told me, like, you got to go to Nashville. And I was like, Nashville, okay. And so, like, when I was able to drive, I drove myself there. And I was not sneaking in, but I was stepping in and, like, looking at the bands. And one of them asked me, like, do you want to play? And I was like, yeah. Like, how'd they know I played? And they got me up on stage, and I started driving to Nashville. And still I went to college and finished in Kentucky. But as soon as I was done, I packed my car up and moved to Nashville. Stayed on couches. I did couch surfing.
Yeah.
And in hotels and kind of lived. It was a little bit of a rough life, to be honest. I literally lived out of a tip jar for a long time.
So when you're in school, I would think that probably since you're in Kentucky that there would be, did you have a lot of friends who liked country, or was it a bit of a mix?
Not really. I have an awful memory. I don't remember a lot about that time. Yeah. I think it was just something, I don't know. I can't tell you.
Yeah.
I hated school so much. I've deleted memories. I've deleted it from my.
Good times, right? So you made the move going to Nashville all the time. So were you doing any country singing in Kentucky and Louisville area, or is it just always going down to Nashville to do that?
I would say I started my country music career in Cincinnati. Yeah. There was a group called Blessed Union of Souls. They were big in the 90s. And I found their studio, and I taught guitar lessons, and I wrote with a guy named Jeff Pence. Yeah. And we wrote some songs together, and he helped me with some recordings. And then I started to play. I used to sing a lot for the Cincinnati Reds. Yeah. I had a band out there, and we would play before the games, and I sang the anthem several times. And I played in tons of bars all over Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky. I had regular set nights. Yeah. I'd play the regular 10 to 2 in the morning, and then be at class at 8.
Oh, wow.
So I was doing the bar life early.
No wonder you didn't like school.
Yeah, I hate it.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty amazing to be doing that and then going and trying to get schooling done. That's tough. That's a lot of work.
Some of my teachers were like, just go to Hollywood. They didn't get it. They're like, just go. Like, why are you here? Because they knew how much I hated it. But I did it anyways. My parents encouraged it. Encouraged the school, which is fine. It's good. Go to school, kids, if you're listening.
Yeah. Yeah. Any brothers or sisters?
Yeah, I have an older sister. Her and I used to sing together quite a bit. I would sing harmony. She would sing lead.
Yeah.
She's a classically trained musician. She's awesome. We used to sing. We used to have a little group together. I don't know what her name was, but we would write songs and sing and fight in the basement quite a bit.
Yeah. So going to Nashville, obviously that experience, surfing on couches and just trying to make your mark there. As you said, it was kind of difficult times. How difficult did you find it?
Well, I didn't have a home. I was meeting practically strangers and like asking them if I could stay at their place. And there was a couple not so safe situations, when people are drinking, and one girl came home one night. She tried to beat me up, and I had to lock myself. It was just crazy stories like that. And then that was out. We're friends now, but she was just really, really, she drank a lot and was not happy.
Yeah.
But there was just some crazy times. And I remember my car got towed the first gig my first gig in Nashville. It was like 2 a.m. and I didn't know many people. Walked to my car and it was gone. Oh. And there's just stuff that happened. I think if my parents are listening now, it's going to be too late. But had they known the situations that I was in, sometimes I think they would have a heart attack.
Yeah. So what was your process when you first got down to Nashville? What would you do to try to get work and try to get noticed? What was your approach? Well,
I started playing. There was a bar that I had played at called Big Shots. It was on 2nd Avenue. And I played there like maybe it was every day of the week. He gave me an acoustic slot there. And I was able to I made pretty good money out of the tips that summer. And I think I brought even a CD that I'd made on my own, and I was selling them for $10. And I ran out of those pretty quick. And I knew like 2nd Avenue is good, but a lot of people want to be on Broadway where more of the tourists are. So I actually auditioned to play at Tootsie's, and they put me at their other bar called Rippies, and I played there every Tuesday night. The catch was I had to play with their band, and they had like 4 other girls that they'd get up throughout the night, and then they run us. They would say, okay, Kinsey's going to go run the tip jar now.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like, it was like done with that. I figured I knew what they were doing, but And I was able to talk the guy into letting me have my own band. I said, can I have this slot and have my own band? And it actually worked. And then from that, I formed my own band. And then I moved over to Legends Corner, and I played there. I still play there. Well, I used to until this Corona.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll get a gig back. But I have a good group of guys that I play with. And from playing at Legends, it's actually brought me kind of around the world. I've met a lot of festival promoters that were from France and Norway and Denmark and England, and I've just like gone on world tours basically from networking at my gigs at Legends.
Wow, that's all came from there, did it?
Yeah, and it got me. I played at a Preds game. Actually, a musician put my name in to play at these Preds games, and so for the hockey games, my band would play, and that's where I met Vince Gill. He heard me play there, and he came and introduced himself, and now he's singing on my next record, and he sang on my previous one. So
what was that like when he came up? How was that whole story? How that went down?
Well, I was singing, and I knew I'd heard that he goes to the games, but I hadn't spotted him yet, and so I was singing, and I looked down, and Vince Gill he turned towards us. Towards the band, was looking up and just watching, and I remember singing, and I looked down, like, oh my gosh, that's Vince Gill. And I could tell my guitar player saw him too, and I think he was getting a little nervous because Vince is an incredible guitar player.
Yeah.
And we played 3 songs. You get like 15 minutes each set, I set my guitar on the stand and I look up and I see Vince. He walked up the bleachers and he said, "Hey, I'm Vince." And I was like, "I know." And so he was really nice. He just wanted to know like my story a little bit. So we exchanged numbers, and the next week we were eating breakfast together. He bought my breakfast.
That's what I like about country music, especially in Nashville, and that you can have someone like Vince who will come up, and he doesn't have to.
Oh, he didn't.
Yeah, and obviously he wanted to, and that's an awesome thing. But it's pretty neat that the community supports each other and have that opportunity to meet people. And I mean, obviously, we all know that's networking and meeting the right person at the right time is everything in the music industry, and the country music industry really is great for that. People, I think, are pretty. I mean, there's always people who are a little cutthroat and want to be the only one, but in general, I think most people are pretty open and want to help other people and want to communicate and meet other people.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. It's pretty neat to live in a town like that.
So what is it like I know a lot of people go to Nashville and go down Music Row and pop in the Tootsies and Legends and all those places. What is it like doing those gigs? As a musician, as a singer, do you have any comments on what that's like and what those shows are like compared to anything else you do when you're traveling around playing different places?
Yeah, I think it's its own little thing. And I've noticed some days, and it depends on kind of how I decide I'm going to like it. Some days I can go and be like, if I'm in a bad mood, and I try not to be in bad moods, but some days we just are. And sometimes I'll be like, okay, I'm going to go put up with all these crazy tourists. They're going to be annoying. They're going to like, if I think negative about it, then it's going to be negative. But if I go and say like, all right, I'm going to go have some fun, play some country music, because most people would love to do that. They would love to be able to go sing for 4 hours and have that be their job.
Yeah.
And not complain about passing the tip jar. So if I go and say, I'm going to go put some smile on some faces today and just have fun with it, maybe, run the tip jar and get to meet some people, who knows where they'll be from and what can happen, then it's always better. Like it's all in my mind, really. And there's times where it is hard, because you do get those one or two people in the crowd that, because I really care about what people think. And I think if I see something negative happen, it affects me. So I have to be able to turn that off, and forget about those times and just remember what we're giving to these people, because I get so much people are so encouraging, and they're like, thank you for doing this. Like, even a song I play my originals, and people thank me. I see them crying sometimes. I think hopefully because it's good, not because it's bad. And then I'll get a message the next day and say, thank you for singing that song. I was actually in town because my aunt was in the hospital, and I'd been in the hospital with her all the day before. Just like, you just never know what these people are going through. And I try to remember that. I try to tell myself that these people are here because they needed to get away. They wanted a good time. And we're able to do that. We're able to give that to them. And yeah, there's going to be people that are annoying and that always want to hear the annoying song, and they don't know any better. And I just have to remember that instead of being negative about it.
Yeah, that's tough. But I guess the way you have to think about it is that, well, that's their favorite song.
Yeah.
It may be your least favorite song, but for them, it's their favorite song.
A million times like I have. So I try to remember. There's been times I haven't been as nice about it, and I'll say what I'm really thinking, but I try not to do that.
Yeah, it's good to get it out every once in a while. Downtown Nashville has really changed over the last few years. What's kind of the biggest change that you found, especially on Music Row?
I've found, well, there's many more bars that are open now. They have a lot of 3 to 4 stories. There's a band on every level. And to me, sometimes I think it affects the crowd size because there's more people spread out everywhere. And they've also taken out the windows in the summer, in spring, and fall. And anytime it's not completely freezing, the windows are out, and it causes a lot of noise on the street. So sometimes when you're playing, you hear, it hurts my ears because I don't know what I'm hearing anymore.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot of musicians don't like the bike pedal taverns. We call them the woo girls.
Right.
Woo!
Oh yeah.
There's so many party buses, lots of bachelorette. I think Nashville is like the number one party town for bachelor parties.
Yeah.
Something like that. And it's just, I remember when I first moved there, I could park my car, basically find a spot on the street, load in, and keep my car there. That was like awesome. And now you have to pay like $20 to park and walk forever. And it's more of a hassle now to get down there. And I think the crowd has changed a little bit. There's still people that totally appreciate the country music, but there's a lot more people that are there to just get wasted too.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that. I've seen that. That's why I like to play the 2 to 6 shift in the afternoon, because I don't like the 10 to 2 at night anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that you met some promoters and different people who've had you go over to Norway. I've seen you've traveled over there quite a bit. What first got you over? What was your first experience going overseas? My first experience, this was 6 years ago. I had been that's when I guess I was still playing at Rippy's at that time. Not that that matters too much, but there were these 2 guys that were from England, and they come to like 5 of my shows. I noticed them, like, they keep showing up. And then the last day that they were there, they pulled me. They asked me if they could talk to me. I was like, okay, because I really liked their accent too. I thought they were cute. And they're like, would you want to come to England and we're going to put a tour on for you? And I was just like, yeah, like totally. That's what I want to get out here. Like, I want to go see the world. Yeah. And so we spoke for about a couple months over email, and I trusted them, and we had a plan. I had a place to stay. I could see, I got enough information to go over there and feel somewhat confident about it. I mean, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, but it was a trip over, and I wanted to do it. So I went over, and they held their word, and we did about 15, 16 shows in a month. And then I had also met this nice couple from Scotland who said, after you're done with that tour, why don't you come over to us and stay for a few nights and play? And so I did that. And now they've become some of my really best friends over there. That couple, I call them my Scottish parents. Oh, yeah. And then from there, I went to Denmark and played for a month in Denmark. And I had also met someone who had heard me play at Whiskey Bent Saloon down on Broadway. Yeah. And it was these guys that were like, come to Denmark. And I was like, okay, when? And they're like, I think it was in May, and I was playing in England in April. So I was like, well, I can hop on over and go to Denmark and play. So I worked that out, and that all worked out, thankfully. And then there was someone from Norway that came to hear me in Denmark and asked if I'd come back in October. So I just kind of, once that first summer out there, I just never stopped going back to all those places. Yeah. So what was that experience like? What was it like playing to people? Obviously, there would be a lot of people who weren't English speaking, or what was that experience like? Well, I mean, even in England, it was really fascinating. The culture it was still culture shock to me. And they were just such nice people. The crowds I played at that first trip, they were super quiet. They were listening crowds, which I love, because as I've told you about Broadway, It was like, okay, I'm in a room full of this crowd. Do they like me or not? Because they're not even hardly clapping. They were just like, they were listening. They gave me their undivided attention. Yeah. And I really like that. And I just love that whole experience. And then when I flew over to Denmark, and then I was in a whole other culture shock with all the language, like different writing, and just, it was really neat. I loved it. I love adventures, and I think that was just the time of my life.
out there. I didn't really know what to expect.
Yeah.
I do remember it being really hot though. That was my first experience without air conditioning in a hotel. But I've gotten used to that, and I kind of, whenever I come back to the States, I'm like, you guys pump the air so much here.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, they don't have much air over there, do they? At all?
Oh, no, I was burning.
Yeah. So what's your favorite place and to play over there? I mean, you've been playing all over the place there. Do you have a certain spot that really stands out for you?
Norway has been, I think I have my biggest fan base now is in Norway. Yeah. Most of my listeners are coming from Norway, and I do enjoy so much the country and the mountains and just the landscape. And I have a lot of really great friends. I call them family. Like, I talk to them almost every day. I have my uncle, I call him Uncle Canute. I've done an album with him. He had me on his last album, and he always is like, how's my niece doing? So we check in with each other. And then I have like my Norway sisters. So I just enjoy it. I think I've enjoyed the friendships in that country so much. And I really do have good friends at everywhere I played, and that's special. But it's hard to pick just one. The France gig I did was awesome. I just remember it was so beautiful. It was a really big crowd. There was like 10,000 people. Yeah. So that was, but yeah, I don't know. It's hard to pick.
You took your band over, or some of the guys, right?
I took them over to Bergen. We played into France actually, but last September, I flew the band over, and we had the best time. It was so much fun. And then all left but my guitar player, who's he plays for Blake Shelton, who's a pretty big country guy. And so I kept reminding him, I'm like, Blake's never taken you to Norway before. After the band gig, we did a few acoustic gigs together and drove around Norway, and it was fun. It was fun to show somebody else around. Yeah. So I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Awesome. So obviously you probably had plans to go back. Did you have plans to go back this year?
I did. I had a whole summer planned. I was going to start in Denmark, then go to Norway, then to England, then to Switzerland, and then back to Norway. Wow. So I was gone for over 2 months, and it's still, everything's canceled, but Switzerland right now, they're still waiting. I think there's going to be 3 more days until they decide.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, probably not going to disappear in 3 days. Unfortunately. There's a cure. Woohoo!
I know. I wish.
Would it be nice if it was that easy? All of a sudden it's like, bam, it's over, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Just think this is a dream.
Yeah. So what about Nashville as far as Kinsey being a recording artist and that pursuit? Are you kind of hitting the record companies and looking at things that way as well? Obviously being in Nashville, that's always a part of the deal, but what's your thought on all that?
I am more so now. I made a record. I forgot when it was put out, but the one with Vince Gill on it, it was all originals. I was hoping to have, you always want to hope like, okay, maybe I'll get a record deal from this. And I didn't, and that's okay. And I'm still touring the world and making a living off of music. So I'm okay. Like, I'm happy. I truly am happy that I get to play music. But if I could get a deal, that would be, if it was a good deal and it could help further my career, then that would be great too. Yeah. If I could if I had a song that I absolutely loved on the radio out there, then that would be awesome. So I'm writing. I'm always writing. I'm working on right now an album of my favorite classic country songs. Yeah. Started in January, and then kind of the world shut down right after that. But it's funny because I wanted this CD thinking I'm going to be gone this summer. What if I come back and I don't have my gig? And I wanted to have a CD with my band on it. And it looks like not right now. It feels like that was my last gig. So, but I'm trying to get that out. But I have plans to put out singles of originals. Yeah. So that'll be out in a couple months. And so I'll be putting out like an original, and then I'll throw a cover song on like iTunes and Spotify, like my classic country stuff. I'm going to mix it in. So if I could get a record label interested that way, then that would be great. If not, then we have so many tools.
It's true.
Social media is powerful. So I'm okay either way.
Yeah. And that's important, I think, in the long run, whether you get a deal, if you don't get a deal, as long as you're performing and singing and doing your thing, that's what really matters in the long run. I think we all know people who've gotten deals and nothing's happened, and they're in a worse spot 4 years later than they were getting it. So it doesn't always mean that getting a deal is
right.
The best thing. So
sounds cool, but it's not always that cool.
Yeah. So you seem primarily, you have a love for more traditional country music. Is that accurate?
I do really love the traditional stuff. I love 90s country quite a bit. But I like it all. I mean, I'm not big into like what you would hear country on the radio right now. There are some songs I think that do well and that they have good meaning, and it's just not really me. A lot of that stuff isn't me. So I don't do it.
Yeah.
But I just try to, I'm not close to doing just traditional country. It doesn't have to be that, but that's what I enjoy. So that's what I do.
That's good. That's my favorite too. So, right up my alley. So if you were looking at yourself as a recording artist, say you were to get a deal, would you want to push to be more traditional? Or would you obviously probably be open to anything, but that would be, if you want to define Kinsey Rose, that be the sound you'd want to go for?
I think that would be really cool. I love Lee Ann Womack. I love her albums.
Yeah.
But I definitely I don't want to say like I want to be like it sound like somebody, because I want it to be like, I want people to hear it and be like, that's Kinsey. So I think as an artist, each record you make, you kind of figure out what direction, like who you are in a way.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly how it's going to sound, but I know what I like. I know when I'm happy, I'm singing the classic traditional stuff. So.
Yeah. And it seems to really suit you. I mean, that seems to be, you can tell it's very natural for you, and it's kind of, you sit in that pocket just perfectly.
Yeah. Thanks. That's good to know.
So let's talk about High Road for a bit. That's a group that you're involved with. Tell me about how that all came about.
That came about a girl named Sarah Davison, who's the leader of this group. She had called me and said, "Hey, can you come and play at Loretta Lynn's ranch tomorrow with High Road?" And I was like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, can you learn like 8 songs really quick and come and play, because we need their other girl wasn't able to make it." So I was like, "Well, okay." So I actually got a notebook together and cheated and had my cheat sheets on the ground. But I played that show with them, and come to find out the girl had gone a different direction, and they were looking for somebody. So she asked me to stay in the group, and I said I would love to do it, but I let her also know that country in my artist gig is like my passion, and that's my number one thing. So if you're okay with that, I'll do it. Yeah. And so I joined, and I've been able to kind of juggle both. It's hard because before things shut down, I really was on the go so much between going to Europe, playing with High Road, and doing my Broadway gigs. Yeah. It was a lot. And then trying to also think like, I need to record something to have some material out there. It's really hard to juggle it all, but it's been really fun. We've also got to see some really cool places. It's brought me to Alaska twice, and just the friendships. The girls are great, and we get along, even though we have to ride in a van for hours and share hotel rooms. So we actually do get along. So that says a lot for girls traveling together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They keep pretty busy. I see they're quite busy, like probably more weekend runs. Does that tend to be?
It's a lot of, sometimes we'll leave on a Thursday and come back Monday before they'll drop me off in the parking lot, and I'll get in my car and like change in my car and go to Legends. We play at churches a lot on Sundays. So sometimes we're up at 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. and we get in a hotel at 1 a.m. and we're like really sleeping. And then we play 2 to 3 shows on Sundays, loading in all of the equipment. And then driving seems like forever to get back. We do keep pretty busy, or we were keeping busy. And then I was also still doing my own gigs. So
yeah, talking about that in that role and in that group, you're not the lead singer, correct?
No, I do more. I do a lot of the high harmony, but we do switch off.
Yeah,
we switch a lot. But I do sing lead on a couple songs. But this is Sarah's group, Sarah Davison. Yeah. So this is her. She's the boss, and yeah. I get to just kind of show up, and they have me as the comedy relief. I tell jokes and keep people laughing in the van and on the stage.
That's awesome. So what's that like, not like being a lead singer and always been kind of like the front person, and then not being the front person? Is that a different thing for you, or was it just kind of just fell into it naturally?
It's not. It kind of takes, I kind of just get to relax a little bit more and kind of get to like sit in the back of the van and just not do anything and just kind of relax. And then, yeah, I've always loved singing harmony. I'm still getting to play music, and it's just, the harmony is just as important as the lead. Yeah. So I don't have to be the center of attention all the time. But I think with this group, it's not really looked at that. We're looked at as a group, and not like, oh, she's the lead singer. It's kind of a group thing.
Yeah.
No. I really don't, I shouldn't care, but I don't care that I'm not singing lead. It's fine. It's still fine.
I know exactly how that feels. I've been in that position lots where, lots of time I'll be playing in my family group, and we're all front, and we're all kind of equal. You're emceeing, you're doing this, you're doing that, and you're kind of the center focus a lot of the time. And then you get a chance to just kind of sit in with somebody and just play, and you're thinking, oh gosh, this is so much. I don't have to think about what I'm going to have to say next, and what's the next song, and how are you going to segue, and all those things, right? It's nice to just kind of sit back and just do your thing.
Yeah. They, every now and then they'll ask me to introduce a song, and I always end up messing it up. It's funny. Like it's just hard for me to introduce songs sometimes. And when they put me on the spot, I always make it to be where everyone's laughing somehow. So they don't ask me to talk much, which is nice.
Now, from what I can tell, you certainly have a comedic side to you, and kind of, would you say kind of a silly side, comedic side, let's have fun side? How would you explain that part of you?
I just think things are funny. I'm always like thinking of stupid stuff in my head. And I mean, I can be serious and take things serious, but really what's going on in my head, I'm thinking of like jokes and how funny something is to me. Yeah. I do. I like to have fun. I kind of have humor of, sometimes people will be like, you have the humor of a 10-year-old boy. Because I'm the one with like the fart app in the van. Like when someone sits down, I'm pushing it, I just think things are funny. I like to be silly and have fun and tell jokes. So, that's awesome.
So were you always like that, or is that something that just kind of?
I think I always thought, like, I was really shy as a kid, but things were still funny to me. I would like make fun of people in my head in a nice way. Yeah. But I just wouldn't be vocal about it. I'd be like, kind of think like, like a kind of a dry sense of humor. And now that I've been playing in the bars and being around people, I'm not scared. I'm not as scared to be myself anymore, which is good. It's something I think I've worked on, to just even if it's stupid or whatever, just to do it and not care what people are going to think. Yeah. Like I had this character, I called her Kinsey, but I started to put like a mullet wig on because I used to have a mullet, and I have these like funny teeth, and I just make funny videos. And my Facebook people, they think it's funny. I get calls for Kinsey now, and like, maybe this is too much. Maybe I shouldn't post it, but I do, and then people love it. So you just have to not worry about what people think and just be yourself.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, most people are just trying hard to be somebody that they're not. And I think we had this conversation the first time we chatted, and just kind of watching you on Instagram, your stories every once in a while, you feel like you get to know you because it feels very real, right? I feel this is Kinsey. I mean, you know exactly your funny side, and you know, you just kind of let it all out there. And I think that's really important.
Good. That makes me happy. I'm glad.
Good. So we just finished a little project. I started this Stonehouse Sessions and reached out to you to see whether you would sing on this new project. And actually, it's starting a third one right now too, with a couple friends of mine from Nashville. But we decided on doing originally a Randy Travis tune, and you graciously said you would do it. You sang the crap out of it. It was really awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I love that song. I'm a huge Randy Travis fan. So I was like, yes, I want to do that as soon as you asked.
Yeah, it was really great. And it was fun. We've gone back and forth a few times, and originally you sang it on your Apple earbuds. And the cool thing, I'm always a stickler on doing something right. And if you're going to do something, let's do it right. And I got that sense from you too, because there's part of me that I didn't want to. It sounded great. The performance was fantastic, but everyone else was recording their parts through studio equipment, and
their parts.
Well, your part sounded great too. It's just the quality of the Apple AirPods is not as great as it should be for recording. Yeah, but yeah, you really kind of came up to the table and said, "Hey, no, let's do this in a proper studio or studio microphone," and that I thought spoke a million miles for you, because that's my goal always, to sort of like, if you're going to do it right, and I think it makes sense.
Yeah, well, once things are out there, they're kind of out there, so you have to live with it for a long time. But I just think the track sounds so good. I want my part to sound as good, because I would love to show my people or my friends, and I'm friends with Randy Travis too. So I want to be like, hey, Randy, look at this. So I want it to sound good.
Good. Thank you for that. And it's going to be hopefully by the time everyone listens to this, it will be out, and the video to go along with it. Once again, fantastic job, and thanks for doing that. And I prefer your vocal over Carrie's vocal. Don't tell her, but
I'll tell her that. I hope she don't hear this.
She sings great, but yeah, your vocal just felt more appropriate, more country, and you did a really fantastic job, and I can't wait for people to hear it.
Thank you. Thanks.
So let's wrap up on a couple other quick questions. Oh, I forgot to ask about, you post a lot pictures with your dog.
Wish he was up here. I guess you're not going to get to see him. The listeners won't get to see him. So, but yeah, Max is his name.
Yeah. And so Max kind of is a big part of your life, right?
He is. I've had him for 13 years, and he's been by my side, except for when I go to Europe. I don't take him to Europe, but I'll give him to my parents in Kentucky.
Yeah.
But he's a companion and like a family member. I don't have kids yet, so he's kind of my little son, my little furry son.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. And if you have a chance to check Kinsey out on Instagram or any of those type of things, you'll see lots of pictures of Max.
I made Max's own Instagram account. So follow Max. It's called I Am a Happy Schnoodle. It's his handle. Follow me first and then Max.
Awesome. A couple questions I always like to ask. One of my favorite questions is there a place out there that you haven't performed at that's on your list or bucket list that I want to play here, and you haven't had a chance yet?
Yes. I would like to play I would love to have a slot on the Opry. Just to say I've played the Opry. I think that would be really cool. And I would love to play the Ryman.
Yeah.
But gosh, now I can't think. I'm sure there's lots of other places. I still want to play I want to play at a little like biker bar again with a cage. I want to say I've never got to play at a place with a cage.
That's awesome. I'll come. If you do it, I'll come and check it out.
Yeah. I have played many biker bars, but they needed a cage, but didn't have one. So yeah, I'm in biker bar with cage.
That's pretty close. So looking 5-10 years down the road, are you one of these people that kind of like to plan ahead and kind of, it's hard to plan ahead during COVID, but do you have plans on where you want to be and what you want to do?
Funny now, it reminded me, I saw something about like when you asked people 5 years ago where they'd see themselves today, just like, and then now all of this is happening. So it kind of made me think like, wow, we really don't know what's going to happen, but it's good to have goals and make plans for sure.
Yeah.
And that it is hard. It's hard for me to even think. I mean, I hope I'm still playing music if I still love it as much as I do, like, and I hope I'm able to see, like I've said, I love traveling. I'd still have my bucket list on places I want to get to. Like Canada is actually one of them. I'd love to play there. I'd love to play in Australia, New Zealand. I can't remember everywhere, but like, I love to do that. And I love the friendships that I make while I do it. So it's been such a huge part of my life for the past 6 years. I can't imagine not doing that.
Yeah.
But also, hopefully I'll still be doing that, but I'll have a family and be able to have a family that supports that. And I'm able to just have those experiences with as well. So I don't know. I really don't know what life will bring. I think I have to keep working right now and getting my music out there, because I think I think it's something I'm always going to feel like I have to do until like I get to that point that I'm okay, like I can take a breath now and not worry about music for a little bit. But right now that's what I do. So I'm going to keep doing that.
Awesome. Well, you seem like a real go-getter, if that's the word you want to use, that you're not the type of person to kind of sit around too much, and you seem to want to keep busy all the time and you're constantly working on something. Yeah.
I love to always be doing stuff. If it's not music, I love sports, and like I was just golfing with my dad today. I just kind of have to keep moving because that keeps me sane. It's kind of my therapy.
That's good. And the COVID question going on now, what, besides obviously music, what do you miss the most being kind of, if you want to say, in lockdown? What's the one thing that you're dying to be able to do again?
Gosh, that's a good question. I don't know if this sounds bad or not, but I've kind of enjoyed like having some personal space and like not having to be around people. But I do miss like just getting a hug or like being around your good friends. I don't need to be around a bunch of people all the time, but like I miss just feeling comfortable about like, hey, let's go do this together, or like let's go to coffee and sit at a coffee shop. Just simple things like that.
Yeah.
I miss. And just, I think it's weird when you go out now and you see everyone with the mask on, and it's just totally different. It's just a whole different world. So I do miss the not having to worry. I think about like, am I going to get sick from this? That kind of stuff.
Yeah. The one thing you mentioned is it's just getting a hug. I love getting hugs and giving hugs to people, and
I do too. Yeah. I mean, I don't like to be touched that much, but like a hug every now and then, like, it's nice. And I think it's good for your heart.
Well, I'll let you get back to your everyday stuff there. And I hope you have a good few days there with your family. I'm going back to Nashville in a few days. And I appreciate you taking the time and us chatting. And it's been fun getting to know you. And I really appreciate working on this song. And hopefully we can do more stuff in the future.
Yeah, I appreciate it too. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thanks for asking me questions, thinking that I'm interesting enough to ask a question to.
Of course you are. All right. Let's just stay on there for a minute. I'll just wrap this up. And, I want to ask, so if anyone wants to find out more about you and get in touch with you or check you out on the socials, what's the best way to find you?
Just find me. I am on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I have a website. I have all of my music available on iTunes and Spotify. You can Google Kinsey Rose. I'm Googleable. Yeah. So it's KINSEY ROSE.
Awesome. What's your preferred social media? Is it Instagram?
Yeah. I mean, Instagram to me is kind of more of my personal stuff. I put more of my personality on there. Yeah. And then Facebook, I keep that more towards just music and kind of where I'm playing. So it depends on how you want to see Kinsey. If you want to see jokes in her dog and all that kind of stuff, look at my Instagram.
And that's good. I think because some people just duplicate everything. And you say, well, why do I follow you here when you put the exact same stuff over here? If it's a little different content, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I put stuff that I wouldn't want my grandma to see on Instagram.
So go to Instagram. Awesome. All right. We're wrapping up. And thank you again. And we'll hope everyone has a chance to hear the song. If you don't, I'll make sure I put that on the link below to listen to I Told You So, one of my favorite classic country songs. And you actually joined Jason McCoy on that one, who's I've been a friend of mine for many, many years. I've played in his band for years, and great friend and great singer. And I think you guys kind of matched up very well. So it'll be good.
It sounds awesome.
Yeah. All right. Thank you again.
Thank you.